It's an established fact that when we're young, we just learn faster, and when we're old, we can't really learn that much anymore. It's because our neural pathways, like the things that are keeping us breathing, or the reflexes, like you see a ball, you just put up your hand reflexively, or some people have fixed thought processes that phones are dangerous and we can't use phones because we will die of something. And I'm going to be showing you how to get rid of these thought processes, these neural pathways that you have established, because they are bothering, they are hindering you in your language learning. You can bend your brain into submission as long as you follow some of these tricks. The thing is, as a child, your brain is really plastic, and so, of course, you learn more easily. And once you reach the age 25 and more, it stops being plastic. Your brain can't learn so much anymore. And so we need to keep that neural plasticity, or enhance it even more when we're young. When we want to increase our neuroplasticity, we need to be alert. That's the thing number one, that is a prerequisite for making your brain plastic. So be alert. You need to be on edge, be cautious. You know this feeling of a predator coming, like you're a caveman and you see a tiger, but it hasn't seen you yet. That's alertness. The next thing you need is focus. So you've seen a tiger, you're alert. But now you need to focus so that it doesn't see you or hear you. You need to focus on your footsteps so that you don't make a noise. You need to communicate with your family, with your tribe, and tell them, warning, tiger, don't make a noise. That's focus. You are consciously, actively making sure that something doesn't go wrong. By the way, when you're young, you don't really need this focus part in your neuroplasticity, because you just can absorb passively. Though if you are young and use these tricks of being alert, on edge, seeing a tiger, and focused, telling your family to stop and being quiet, being really focused, having this tunnel vision, you can enhance your neuroplasticity so much that you become a different person. You can completely shape yourself into who you want to be. When I say young, I mean up to 25 years old. So we know that we need alertness, we need focus, and we need increment learning, which is especially important for adults who don't have brains as plastic. So you take these small bites. For example, you take 10 words of vocabulary a day and 1 grammar concept. That's pretty small, bite size. And let's say as an adult you haven't really studied any languages, and this is your first one. So you don't have any pathways. Once you start doing this daily, you do these 10 words of vocabulary plus 1 grammar. It's really difficult, you don't have these neural pathways. You start seeing results that it becomes easier and easier, just because you're using this incremental learning. Now I will be telling you how to get this state of alertness, state of focus, and then maybe some incremental learning. Because it's not really obvious, how do I get to be alert, to be on edge? We don't really see tigers these days, and we don't really have families to protect from the tigers. So how do I get alert? How do I get focused? These are the things that you need to do. The first thing on the list is high intensity exercise. The only thing I think I should mention is that you need to exercise only for 1 or 2 hours, not more. Because if you do too much, you exhaust yourself completely, and that exercise doesn't become a stimulus for a neuroplasticity, but just stimulus for exhaustion, and you can't really focus or be alert. Your body doesn't care, it just wants to rest. An example of a high intensity exercise would be resistance training, or speed running, or just sweating a lot. Though again, don't exhaust yourself completely. After you're done with those 1 or 2 hours of exercise, you come back home and start learning your language. You will probably already be able to tell that you are kind of alert and focused, maybe a bit tired from the exercise, but not completely exhausted. And that's when your neuroplasticity is at its highest. That's where you want to be, because you are creating those neural pathways exactly in this time. In the few hours you get after that high intensity exercise. If you want to increase your focus even more, caffeine can help. So after you come back home from that exercise, you might want to drink a cup of coffee. That increases your focus even more, so naturally your brain becomes even more plastic. The next thing you would need to be careful of is good sleep. I mean, you might think that, of course, a well-rested brain can focus and be alert better. However, be careful. It's not only that, it's much more important. Because this neuroplasticity, those neural pathways, are built in sleep. So you might work really hard on the studying. You have exercised, you might have drunk coffee, you've spent an hour learning a language so that it builds a neural pathway, but only once you sleep properly, get those 9 hours in, only then can you truly start feeling like there was a shift, like you've built a neural pathway. Though it won't be like an awakening after one night, you really need to keep at it regularly. Your brain isn't so easy to influence. So naturally, with it being a bit difficult to influence, you will feel friction when learning, when forcing those neural pathways in. And with friction, you know that you are doing the right thing. You know that you are building something. Because that friction is correct. It's supposed to be there. And slowly, it will just disappear. In conclusion, if you are ever struggling with neuroplasticity, in other words, with the ability to learn any concept, for us languages, following this advice will make sure that your brain is as plastic as possible and can form those pathways that you need for language learning.